Hey guys, so today we are going to learn how to solve multi-step equations. And in order to solve these types of equations, we have multiple steps. So the best way to go about this is to give you a checklist, something that can help keep you organized and keep your thoughts organized as well. So what I want you guys to do is on your piece of paper, take a couple notes here with me. So for multi-step equations, here's our checklist. On our first checkbox is to distribute. You will distribute only when you see parentheses in your equation. It's a trigger. The second bullet point or checklist check, if you will be for tomorrow's lesson. So we'll come back to this, but leave a box there. The third box for our checklist is to undo the operations. So we are going to add or subtract or multiply or divide, our inverse operations, if you will. So go ahead and take a couple seconds to write that down. Feel free to pause your video, and then we're going to get started on our practice questions. So our example questions that I want you guys to also write down, we have 4 examples, and on each of those examples here on the notebook paper, notice how I've put our 3 check mark boxes, and I've also put our words distribute, and in our third is undo operations. So go ahead and take some time, pause the video, and set up your equations as such for your example questions. So let's take a look at number 1. So right now, as I look at this equation, something is really drawing my eye. And the thing that's really getting me right here is the parentheses. So as soon as I see parentheses, I know that in my checklist that I am going to distribute first. So I'm going to mark that off with a little check. And we are going to use our arrows to help us multiply and distribute that through. All right, so 2 times 5c is going to give us 10c. And then 2 times negative 3 is going to give us negative 6, equal to 14. Step 1 completed. Now, in order to continue our solving process, we need to get c by itself. So just like in our 2-step equations, we're going to box whatever is closest with c, and we are going to undo these operations from there. So how am I going to undo these operations to get c completely alone? Well, we're going to use our inverse operations or undo the operations. So instead of subtracting 6, we're going to add 6 to both sides. And when we add 6 to both sides, remember that when I add and subtract at the same time, it makes 0, or they completely undo each other. And then we can combine our pieces here. So we have our 10c, and we have our equal to 14 plus 6, in fact, gives us 20. To finish solving for c, notice c is side by side with 10, which means there's no operation in between. So that triggers this thought that we're going to have to not multiply, but undo it by divide. So we're going to divide by 10 on both sides. And we end up getting our final answer here of c equals 20 divided by 10 is 2. Now, if you don't know for sure if this is your final answer, please do the check. So when you do your check, guys, and you type all of this left side into your calculators, you should in fact get 14 back, which means that 2 has to be my answer or my solution. All right, so let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 is a little bit different. Notice there are no parentheses. So if you don't see any parentheses on either side, then that means we won't be distributing. So cross it out. We will not be distributing here, which means the only way I can go about this is to undo my operations on either side. Now, the easiest operations to look at doing are with your x's first. So I notice I have a 5x on the left side of my equal, and I notice I have a 3x on my right side of my equal sign. The easiest way to do this is move the smaller number to the other number. So 3x is the guy I want to move. And 3x right now as it sits here is positive. So to move it, I'm going to undo it by subtracting. And so we're going to go through and we end up taking 5x minus 3x is 2x minus 2 equals, drop down our 4. And now we can actually start solving like a normal equation. So notice my x is here and it's partnered with a 2 directly in front of it. So we're going to box that step and we are going to undo these operations again. So instead of subtracting by 2, we are going to add by 2. And when we add and subtract, we end up getting a 0 there, which makes it just 2x on the left, equal to 4 plus 2, which is 6. And don't forget, guys, we have to solve all the way down so that x is by itself. Well, right now, 2 is literally directly beside our x, which means we need to undo this operation. Well, this operation is multiplication. They are being multiplied together, the 2 and the x. So to undo multiply, we have to divide. And when we divide, 6 divided by 2 is in fact 3. Now, of course, take a couple seconds here and check your answer. So when you type in your check, guys, notice that both sides, one from the left and one from the right, equal 13. So if they equal each other, that means that x equals 3 must be our solution. All right, so let's take our time here for number 3. Please notice right away, I see something that I really, really like right from the get-go here. We like to see that we have some parentheses. So as soon as you see parentheses, that means we're going to distribute. So 3 times 2k is 6k, and 3 times positive 5 is positive 15. And we're going to set that equal to our 8k plus 45. And now notice that this looks very similar to what we had up in number 2. So we have k's on both sides of our equal, and we have some numbers going on. So to finish this guy up, we are going to undo these operations. So out of the 2k's, the 6k is smaller. So instead of having a positive 6k, let's undo it by subtracting it from both sides of our equal. Now when you do that, you're left with your 15 equals 8k minus 6k is 2k's, and we still have this 45 chilling like a villain. Now, we want to get this 2k by itself so we can solve for k. So let's not add 45, let's undo that. So subtract 45 from both sides of our equal. The 45s undo each other, leaving us with 2k on the right side, and 15 minus 45 is negative 30. And to finish up solving for k, guys, I need to undo this operation directly beside k. So notice there is no plus sign, minus sign, or divide bar, so that means that this is multiplication. So to undo multiply, we divide. So let's cut negative 30 in half. And what would that leave us with? And I'd hope you'd say negative 15. So our solution for k is negative 15. Feel free to take a couple seconds to do your check. And we notice when we plug in both our left and right side in our check, we get negative 75, which means that negative 15 is our solution. All right, one more to go, guys. We are on number 4 as our example. Please note right away, do you see any parentheses in this equation? I don't, so that means we're not distributing anymore. which means the only thing I can do to this equation is undo my operations. So I'm going to look here and take a look at which number is smaller on the D's. And I notice that 6 is smaller than 17. And right now the 6D is being subtracted. So to undo it, we add the 6D to both sides of our equation. The 6D's are going to undo each other, leaving us with -3 minus 11D equals 52. Now to complete solving, we need to get D by itself, but right now it's partnered with that -11 right in front of it. So how do we undo these operations some more? Well, I see that I'm subtracting 3, so to undo that, we're going to add 3 to both sides, allowing us to get -11D equals 52 plus 3 is in fact 55. And for us to get D completely by itself, everybody, notice we have that -11 directly in front of. So to undo multiply, we divide. Now don't ignore that sign, guys. Take that negative in front of the 11 as you divide it. That way you get D completely by itself with no negative involved. So 55 divided by -11 ends up giving us -5. And of course, do your quick self-check. And as you check the left side of your equation with your right side, once you put in your -5, you should see that you get both 82 on both sides, which means -5 is our solution for D. All right, guys, it's time to practice.